So, welcome to Working Posture. I'm speaking to you today by invitation of my very good friends at Swanmedsupply. And we met because we share a passion for looking after dentists and their posture. So let me introduce myself. I'm Dr. Penelope Jones. I'm a dentist from Sydney, Australia. And I've been actually practicing dentistry for many, many years, including 25 years of only doing endodontics. So I know the trials and tribulations that poor old dentists have to go through. So that all began about 30 years ago when I was actually still quite young. I began to develop a lot of pains and aches and body distresses that I'm sure many of you are very, very familiar with. And I actually decided that I had to do something about it because the only other choice was to give up dentistry, and I was way too young for that. So I was very, very lucky to actually find a 4-year university training in Melbourne, Australia, that came from America. And it was basically studying human movement, human development and learning, and neuroplasticity. Now that sounds like a pretty amazing combination, and it was. It was actually the training to become a Feldenkrais practitioner. And way back then, neuroplasticity, people had never even heard of it, let alone what a powerful tool it was. Now, of course, it's everywhere. It's such a buzzword. Anybody in the healing and therapy areas using neuroplasticity. So the thing about neuroplasticity is that it really can change the way that we sit, the way we stand, the way we move, or even play sport. It actually gets into the neurological aspects of how we do what we do. So the 4-year training, which, as I said, was to become a Feldenkrais practitioner, I decided then that I needed to use this knowledge to create a workshop for dentists because I had no more pain. I could work pain-free and stress-free. And it was such a revelation. So I've been running this course for nearly 30 years now, first of all with the Sydney Dental School, and now through the Australian Dental Association. And I've really helped a lot of dentists regain their career and learn how to work without pain. And the wonderful thing is that it's really simple. It's very different to anything that anybody else is doing. So my meeting with Swanmedsupply was wonderful. As I said, because I found a company who were as passionate as I was about helping dentists to work pain-free and stress-free. And this partnership was based on the fact that we need 2 aspects. First of all, we need the aspect of the right equipment, which is what MedSupply do, which means the right seat. And the second thing is the right visual aid so that we don't have to strain our body to see well for the exacting things that dentists need to do. So the second thing that we need to do is to learn how to sit properly, where we have, instead of rigidity, which is what we normally go for, we have stability. And that's a very different thing to rigidity, because stability has flexibility as well. Unfortunately, since we were never taught to sit well, dentists tend to achieve this rigidity to enable them to stay still for all the precise work that they need to do. But this leads to stiff, tight muscles. What we do with working posture is that we'll learn how to align your skeleton so that the spine and the skeleton does the job of supporting the work that needs to be done and gravity. And this way you end up with less tight muscles to hold you up. I teach people how to use their pelvis to balance the spine and the arms and the shoulders and the neck so that the skeleton takes the weight and the force, not the muscles. During my 30 years of teaching working posture, I actually found 5 very bad habits that we've developed that help to pull our skeleton out of alignment. Now, the first one might surprise you is our habit of holding our breath. How many of you are aware that when you concentrate, you hold your breath? Well, how do you do that? You do that by tightening the muscles in between your ribs, your intercostals, and your diaphragm. So this makes a pretty rigid chest. And first of all, you don't get enough air to breathe. So you end up at the end of the day feeling quite groggy and not very good. And the other thing is that tightness in the muscles becomes worse and worse as the day goes on. And it spreads. It spreads to your neck, spreads to your pelvis, and to your shoulders and everywhere else. And unfortunately, you end up with aching shoulders, aching neck, and aching lower back. So the next bad habit that I noticed is stooping forward to try and see well in the mouth. This creates problems in your neck and your shoulders, as you can imagine. And the last thing is our body was never ever meant to sit on chairs. And in fact, I found 110,000 scientific articles on Google Scholar that attest to the fact that sitting in chairs is almost as bad as smoking. In fact, some of the symptoms that you get from both are the same. Our bodies were never designed to sit in chairs. They were designed to squat on the ground. And unfortunately, that's not a good way to practice dentistry. So we have to find a way to adapt. The bad thing about sitting in a chair is we develop a very bad habit of slouching back. And when we do this, we lose a lot of the support muscles that help keep our spine aligned and also stop that muscular tension. So have you ever had the experience where you've been and had treatment from a good physiotherapist, a good chiropractor, or a masseur, or you've even been to the gym to exercise, but you've found that the problem keeps coming back, that lower back problem might go away temporarily? Well, unfortunately, the problem isn't with the treatment or the exercises. The problem is how you sit, how you do all the things like holding your breath and stooping over, and all of those other poor habits that you've developed over time. So how do you get out of this? How do you change this? Well, the first thing is to get a decent chair, decent equipment. And I can only speak highly of getting yourself a saddle chair. The saddle chair will actually enable you to align your spine and your pelvis much more easily, but you can still sit badly in a saddle chair, unfortunately. We need to teach you how to sit properly. The other bit of equipment that you need is either a microscope or loops, because this will allow you to have distance between yourself and the patient, which means you're not stooping forward with your neck. This needs to be done, and just going by any loops or microscope is not good enough. You need to have them fitted really well. And this is something that Swanmedsupply do extremely well. You have to have the distance between your focal distance assessed well. So now we come to the second aspect, which is how working posture can help partner with this. Using the concept of neuroplasticity, which is an elegant way to change the way the nervous system organizes your movements. We participants, we take you through a series of slow, gentle movements with two aims in mind. The first thing is to help you become aware of how tight muscles have become the product of all the bad habits that you've had over the years. When you start to feel how you pull in with that, it gives you the choice then to actually not do that. And the second is to feel how these distort free and flexible movements. Then we take you through some more natural movements to learn how to sit, how to turn, how to breathe, and how to use your shoulders, arms, and wrists in a way that gives you access to stability and flexibility. We actually improve your coordination. The lessons are easy and pleasurable and can start to unwind the chronic tension you feel when you're at work. So learning posture from diagrams just doesn't work, as you may have already noticed, because as your tension rises, the old bad habits of muscular tension start to pull in, and already your alignment is lost. So when you know the feeling of balanced alignment, and this is what we teach you, how to feel it in your own body, because it's not something you can do from the outside. When you know what it feels like, you can just keep coming back to it again and again. And I teach you how to do that until it becomes a new good habit. So together, working with good equipment and good lessons, you can actually change the way you practice and end up being much happier at work. So for further information about Swanmedsupply, please ask the people that you have around you. For further information about working posture, please go to my website, www.workingposture.com.au, and I have lots of workshops, I have lots of information, and I'm also on Instagram and Facebook at Working Posture. There's some little handy household hints to start your journey towards sitting well. So thank you for attention, and I hope to meet you again sometime.